Hey guys, I'm out here in Ontario's beautiful deciduous forest, right on the cusp of Great Lakes St. Lawrence forest. It's minus 17 today, it's freezing. Going to give a proper review of a knife that I used every day for 2 years in the remote boreal forest of Red Lake, Ontario. A knife that is still my favorite design to this day. Of course, the knife I'm talking about is the Fallkniven F1. I'd like to give a little bit of a backstory. I purchased this knife from Red Lake Outfitters about 5 years ago when I was living up there, and I used it every day in the woods for about 2.5 years. From everything from cleaning game, cleaning fish, processing wood, starting fires, everything you would use a knife for. I wanted to say this for 2 reasons. One, because the knife, after being used so often, doesn't quite look the same as a factory fresh knife. The blade is a little bit more polished, and the height of the blade is a little bit shorter now after being worn down from sharpening over the years. Secondly, to validate that this isn't an out-of-the-box review. I have actual experience using this knife in the field. I have used it to keep me alive in every season. I've used it professionally. I have literally used it every day in the most remote areas of Ontario. So that being said, let's head over to our camp and give you all the specs and all the details of my thoughts and opinions on this knife. Alright, here it is, the Fallkniven F1. It normally does not come this polished, like I said. It's more of a satin finish, but over the years of sharpening, it's just developed a mirror finish. The blade length is 3.8 inches. Overall length, 8.3 inches. The thickness is a very generous 4.5 millimeters. And it actually works well with this full convex grind because although it is very thick here, it still has a very nice edge on it. It works well together. The steel is laminated VG10 with a 59 hard Rockwell scale. The blade itself is just a simple drop point with a full convex grind. The benefit of the convex grind is that it holds an edge very well. It lasts a long time. And if you use the mouse pad method with sandpaper, it actually is very easy to sharpen a convex edge. Moving on to the handle, it's made of Theramon, I think it's called. It is very comfortable in the hand. I've never really had an issue with hot spots or anything like that. Lanyard hole and extended pommel, which is great, you know, if you need to break up some seeds or seeds or nuts, or, you know, a lot of people like to smash their pommel onto things. I don't really do it too often, to be honest. The only time I could think of is like opening hazelnuts, or you know, if you need to mash up roots or anything like that for medicine. But a rock works just as well, and you don't have to use your knife. Now moving on to the sheath, I have modified this a little bit just to help with the rattle. There's always a lot of debate with this knife about their sheaths, and they have a leather option as well. I don't really like the overflap, so I picked this one here. And all I did was cinch this rope around it tight just to reduce the rattle with the plastic sheath. Added fire steel just for emergencies. I don't use this one often. I always have a fire steel on me. At least when I was carrying this knife, I did. That's one thing I would knock about the sheath is, you know, a survival knife should have the ferro rod holder. That's the thing though, this is a pilot's survival knife. So they know what they're getting into, so they carry other implements. They don't need to have a ferro rod on their knife. So I just learned to carry one with me. The knife also has different attachment points. It can technically be a neck knife as well. You could hang it this way. Has a nice big drainage hole. A lot of people cut this off, but I like it. It's extra security, you know, when you're on the sled and you tip over, or you're in a canoe, anything like that. I like to make sure my knife's gonna still be on me when I get rattled. Retail value is Canadian around 200 to 250, and US 150 to 180. I think it's worth every penny. For a production knife, you cannot beat this knife. I love its simple design. It's simple, straightforward, it works well, gets the job done. And for me, it has stood the test of time. Let's get a nice fire going and get using this knife. Two for the price of one. Here's a trick I like to do when your log's getting too short and you know it's hard to keep it balanced while you're cutting. Pinch the bucksaw between your knees and put your foot over the handle that's on the ground to stabilize it. I always start with an upstroke, and then just to get your line going, and then from there, voila. I'm just gonna get a fire going with the knife just so you can see it in action, processing wood, things like that. A few things that I love about this knife: winter camping, the steel isn't gonna rust on you overnight. I love carbon steel knives, but I love not having to worry about this knife. It's pretty convenient. Also, that being said, even on a canoe trip, it's nice just to not have to take care of your knife as much. It could take the abuse and you just don't have to worry about it, keeping it clean and dry. Now, I normally don't baton with my knife often. I always have my axe on me, but it's nice to know that your knife can handle the abuse. That's the sound of good dry wood. It is windy out today. I gotta be careful around these trees. I'm ready to bolt at any moment just in case. One thing that I really love about this knife is just the simplicity in its design. It's a no BS knife. It's straightforward, easy to use, and just very efficient. There's a reason why this knife is held in such high regard with so many people. So I'm gonna keep batoning through here. And we'll get this fire going with feather sticks. It's been freezing rain the last few days, so getting a dry tinder source out here could be tricky. So we're just gonna go the route of feather sticks. Having the convex edge is great because you could be really hard on your edge and it's just gonna hold up. It's not gonna wear too quick like a Scandi grind would. One thing I see a lot online that drives me nuts is people batoning and they're like right in here, ready to stab their inner thigh, or they're sitting with their legs crossed and batoning in between their legs. Like, if you do that, just don't. You're just heading towards a catastrophic injury. If anywhere in your inner thighs get cut, you're done. You don't even need to be batoning wood in the first place. I like to do it when I want a nice small split fire, a good quick hot fire, but if you are going to baton, just don't be dangerous. Be cognizant. You don't want to be, you know, sitting like this, batoning down over top of your foot. Next thing you know, through your boot, you're going. It's just common sense, honestly. Just be careful. I find I don't do it often. As I'm getting older, my knees are getting more sore, but the proper way I would say to do it is to be up, completely out of the way of the edge of the blade, like so. The same with feather sticks too. When you're feather sticking, you know, you don't want to be like this. ready to insert your knife into your leg. You got to keep some distance, keep yourself up here. You'll thank me later. Another great feature in its simplicity is just how well this thing digs through wood. I mean, you could do very fine, thin curls, or you can bite right down into it. Using this for notches, making wood joints, things like that. I like using the convex edge. People always go to the Scandi, and I love the Scandi grind too, don't get me wrong. But when you're comfortable with a knife, it doesn't matter what the edge is, really, to be honest. I use this for so long, it's just like riding a bike. Even though now my main knife is a Scandi grind, I love coming back to this one all the time. So I'm gonna do up some feather sticks today, and I'll just show you some nice fine curls. After batoning this hardwood, my edge is still perfect. Once I'm done with my feather sticks, I'll give you a close-up on the edge. So with the right control, you can get nice long feathers, just as good as any Scandi knife. And compared to a Scandi grind, your edge is going to last so much longer. Look at that one. But this knife is just like butter. Of course, selecting the right wood when feather sticking too is a big deal. I get frustrated sometimes. You grab a piece of wood and it's just not cooperating with you. Selecting the right wood is very important to avoid that issue. A lot of people might not realize while they're feathering, the way you hold your knife is going to dictate where the feathers are going. So if I tilt my knife down, my feathers start curling to the right of my knife. See, they start bending to the right. If I hold it straight, the curls go straight down the center of the knife. And if I tilt the tip up, then they start bending to the left. This isn't a technique I practice often. I usually just like to have them all bend to the right. I'm comfortable doing that. But this is a good way if you want to get a nice, very bushy feather stick. But that being said, I usually go straight or to the right. That's where I'm comfortable, and I'll show you can get just the same results. This knife has a 90-degree spine, so if you want to start making some fine scrapings, if you need to shave up some bark, or if you want to use the back of your knife to start a fire, it could do the job. And that's how I'm going to get this fire going today. Well, after going through all that hardwood, making all those splits, I made a lot more off camera just to conserve my battery life. The edge still looks perfect. I'm not surprised by that, it always does. It's very rare when I ever get any roll or a chipping in this knife. And yeah, that's her right there. So I think this knife would be a great knife for people looking to take a step up and get a higher end knife without paying the custom knife prices. This knife's design is just a workhorse. It's definitely a companion knife. It's kind of the jack of all trades. And it does fairly well at all of them, honestly. In using this knife, I never felt like I needed something else or I wish I had something more. That to me just credits this knife, how amazing it is. I've decided to give this knife a 9 out of 10 for Bushcraft survival camping knife. To me, its design is perfect. I wouldn't change a thing about it. I would give this a 10 out of 10 if it were from a custom maker and the ergonomics, the handle were fit to my hand. That would be the perfect knife. But I don't want that to take away from this knife. The handle is amazing. I've never had hot spots. It feels great and it's durable. Thanks for watching. If you want more gear review videos, just hit the like button so I know that this is something you guys would like to see. Safe travels, and remember to make time for the wilderness. Cheers, guys.